Contraband inside the jail. The Clayton County Sheriff says that one of its employees is the culprit, and she is now behind bars, and our cameras were rolling as that arrest happened. Atlanta News First Sarah Hammond is at the Clayton County Jail with the story you'll see only on Atlanta News First.
This arrest definitely came as a surprise to everyone in the room during that 6 a.m. roll call where our cameras were rolling when 38-year-old security specialist LaPortia Williams was called to the front and then placed in handcuffs. The new jail administrator here says he hoped the message comes across that this will not be tolerated.
Specialist Williams. Step up front, please.
An early morning arrest inside the Clayton County Jail after the sheriff's office says security specialist LaPortia Williams smuggled contraband to an inmate.
You are hereby terminated from the Clayton County Sheriff's Office and under arrest.
Atlanta News First heard jail phone audio of Williams conspiring with inmate Rodriguez Martin to smuggle this phone charger inside of this cereal bar box. Major Michael Johnson says security cameras captured the moment Williams dropped that box into a trash can like Martin asked her to. A shakedown inside Martin's cell block this morning ended with the inmate back in handcuffs.
Specialist Williams is now an inmate here at Clayton County Jail because of you.
Major Johnson says when he took over as jail administrator a month ago, he warned everyone there would be changes because this happens far too often.
That I can't believe that they're still doing it. After I gave them warning, I told them there's changes coming and let them know that there was going to be consequences to actions such as this.
He says he hopes his message this morning was clear to the other employees that this cannot go on.
If you make a decision to do criminal activity in our jail, you'll see the same fate.
And Major Johnson says he wants to set an example for the future of this jail and their inmates.
We are making sure that we are taking care and custody of all of our inmates and taking care of all of our employees as well. And today we effected a little more change.
During a sweep of that jail block, deputies did find an iPhone in one of those cells, and Major Johnson says it's not yet clear how Martin and Williams developed a relationship to the point where she was tempted to bring in this contraband. At the Clayton County Jail, Sarah Hammond for Atlanta News First.
Welcome back to Buzzing Media Trending Talks, the place where real stories meet real consequences. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So, picture this.
Yeah.
A place that's all about rules, maximum security.
Right, like a county jail.
Exactly. And then the very people who are supposed to be guarding it, they end up on the wrong side of the bars.
Yeah, that's quite the scenario.
And it's not hypothetical. This actually happened just recently down at the Clayton County Jail.
Okay.
We're talking about an employee, someone with the position of trust, real authority, and she walks right into handcuffs. During morning roll call, of all things.
Wow, during roll call.
Yep. Not getting booked, she was there to work.
So in front of her colleagues.
In front of everyone.
Yeah.
And why? Because she decided to help out an inmate, compromised her freedom, her future, probably her kid's situation too, based on some reports, and definitely risked the safety of the whole place.
It sounds like a classic case of, well, poor choices leading to serious consequences. That phrase, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, kind of springs to mind.
It really does. So today, we're diving deep into this pretty baffling incident. An employee in handcuffs at her own workplace.
It's definitely more than just a simple crime story, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's about, trust being totally shattered.
And those consequences you mentioned, often really unexpected, maybe even ironic ones.
Exactly. And it really highlights that delicate balance of integrity you need inside the justice system.
Right. Because if the people running it aren't upholding the rules, then what?
So our mission today, is to really unpack what happened, get into the specifics.
The how and the what?
Yes. And then look at the bigger picture. What does this mean for jail security? For how staff should behave?
And maybe touch on the why, too. I mean, what pushes someone in that position to risk everything?
Definitely want to explore that human side. And importantly, why this matters to you listening. Because these stories, they have ripples.
They absolutely do. It's not just contained within those jail walls.
And just so you know, all our information today, it comes straight from a pretty detailed news report transcript about the arrest and the whole investigation.
So grounded in the facts as reported.
Exactly. This isn't some made-up drama. It's real life.
Okay, let's get into it then. Who are we talking about?
Right. The central figure here is a woman named LaPortia Williams. She's 38 years old.
Okay.
And her job title, security specialist at the Clayton County Jail.
Security specialist. That sounds like more than just a standard guard role.
It really does. You pause on that title, right? Security specialist. It implies a higher level of responsibility.
Yeah, expertise even. Not just watching, but actively securing the place.
Totally. Their job involves, overseeing inmate movements, doing searches, monitoring all the cameras, enforcing the rules.
And crucially, stopping contraband from getting in. That's a core function.
Exactly. They're supposed to be the experts in spotting threats, knowing the protocols, intercepting the very things Williams got caught with.
So they're trained specifically for this. Threat assessment, finding hidden items.
Right. It wasn't just about watching inmates. Her role was about protecting the facility's integrity.
Which makes the situation even more, well, jarring.
Jarring is the word. So let's talk about that morning. The arrest. It wasn't subtle.
You said during roll call.
Yeah, 6 a.m. roll call, which, is a really structured, important part of the day in a jail.
Absolutely. It's about accountability, assignments, getting briefed on any issues, setting the tone for the shift.
Picture it. Everyone's lined up, uniforms on, ready to start the day in this high-security environment.
Yeah.
And then LaPortia Williams gets called to the front.
Okay.
Not for commendation, not for anything good. She's immediately put in handcuffs.
Yeah.
Right there.
Wow. In front of all her peers.
Yes. The report literally says it was a surprise to everyone in the room.
I bet it was. That's a huge shock.
Yeah.
The person meant to enforce the rules is suddenly
the one being arrested? The complete opposite of her job description.
Talk about a blow to morale. Oh. And trust, obviously.
Huge. It sends a message,
Yeah.
Sometimes the danger is internal.
So what was the specific charge? What did they accuse her of doing?
The main charge was smuggling contraband to an inmate.
Okay, smuggling contraband. That's a serious felony in a correctional setting.
Absolutely. It's not like forgetting your keys. Contraband undermines the entire security of the place.
Right. It can lead to violence, other crimes, put staff and inmates at risk.
And the item itself, it's almost like weirdly ordinary.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
A phone charger.
A phone charger. Okay.
But get this. Hidden inside a cereal bar box.
A cereal bar box? Seriously?
Seriously. Which, it sounds kind of silly, but it shows the ingenuity, right?
It does, and the lengths they'll go to, even for something seemingly small like a charger.
But it also shows how even everyday items can be used to break serious rules.
And a charger isn't much use without...
Without the phone, exactly. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But first, who was she smuggling it to?
Right, there must have been a specific inmate involved.
Yes. The inmate was identified as Rurik Martin.
Rurik Martin. Okay, so there's a connection. This wasn't random.
Definitely not random. There was clearly some kind of relationship or understanding there.
Which raises the question of how that relationship developed in the first place.
Yeah, we'll touch on that too. But first, the evidence. How did they catch her?
Okay, so how did this all come to light?
Well, the evidence seems pretty overwhelming. It wasn't just a suspicion.
Right.
This looked like a planned operation, not a spur-of-the-moment mistake.
So, premeditated. What do they have?
First up, audio evidence. The report mentions jail phone audio.
Ah, the recorded calls. Standard procedure.
Exactly. And on these calls, they captured Williams conspiring with inmate Rurik Martin to actually bring in the item.
So they literally heard them planning it.
Yep. Discussing the smuggling. It proves intent, This wasn't accidental.
That's pretty damning. Hard to explain away a recorded conversation like that.
You'd think. But there was more. They also had visual confirmation.
Really? Video?
Yes. Security cameras captured the moment Williams dropped the box into a trash can like Martin asked her to.
Wow. Caught on camera making the drop.
Right. In a jail, cameras are everywhere. Constant surveillance. It's for accountability.
And it provided undeniable proof of the exchange method, the specific action.
Time-stamped, recorded, no room for doubt about what she did and how she did it. The visual, gotcha.
Okay, so audio of the plan, video of the execution. What happened next?
Well, after the drop, things moved quickly. There was a shakedown inside Martin's cell block.
A shakedown, so a surprise search of the cells?
Exactly. Standard procedure to find contraband. And guess what?
Let me guess. Martin ended up back in handcuffs.
Bingo. Back in handcuffs. And crucially, During that shakedown,
They found something.
deputies found an iPhone in one of the cells.
An iPhone. There it is.
Now, the report doesn't explicitly say that specific phone was the item Williams smuggled or conspired about.
But finding an iPhone in the same block right after the charger incident?
It connects the dots, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It shows why someone would desperately need a charger smuggled in.
Absolutely. An unauthorized cell phone in jail is a massive security breach.
Huge. It's not just for making calls. Inmates can use them for all sorts of illegal stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. Coordinating drug deals on the outside, intimidating witnesses, planning violence inside the jail, even escape attempts.
It completely bypasses all the monitored jail communication systems.
A direct, unmonitored line to the outside world. Extremely dangerous.
So that charger wasn't just some minor rule breaking. It was enabling potentially serious criminal activity.
It fuels the device that poses the real threat. So yeah, the evidence seems ironclad. The conspiracy, the charger, the phone, it all ties together.
Ties right back to Williams.
This whole thing really does put a spotlight on the importance of jail security, and maybe even more on the conduct of the staff.
It really does. Because that role, security specialist, it's critical.
We talked about that. They're the gatekeepers, basically, responsible for safety, order, preventing exactly this kind of thing.
So when someone in that specific job is the one breaking the biggest rules,
It undermines everything. The trust is gone. It makes the whole facility less safe.
for everyone, inside staff, other inmates, everyone.
The integrity of the whole system kind of relies on the integrity of the people working there. When that breaks down,
The consequences are huge. And apparently this wasn't happening in isolation. There's context here with new leadership.
right, you mentioned a new jail administrator.
Yes, Major Michael Johnson. He had apparently just taken over the role,
Okay, new boss in town.
and he came in strong. Sounds like he knew there were problems.
What did he say?
Well, he'd apparently already warned the staff that changes were coming because, and this is a direct quote, this happens far too often.
Far too often. Wow, that suggests this wasn't just a one-off incident with Williams.
Exactly. It points to maybe a bigger, more systemic issue, a culture maybe that he was trying to change.
What makes smuggling happen far too often? Could be many things, I suppose. Low pay, burnout, lack of training, maybe just lax enforcement in the past.
Could be any or all of those. But whatever the reason, Major Johnson was clearly frustrated.
Yeah.
He said, I can't believe they are still doing it. I told them change is coming and let them know that there was going to be consequences.
So he'd put them on notice. This wasn't a secret crackdown?
No, it sounds like a very clear warning, a proactive stance. He wasn't going to tolerate it.
And Williams basically became the first major example under his new policy.
It seems that way. He explicitly said he wanted to set an example for the future of this jail and their inmates.
Setting an example, that's a strong message.
And the message was blunt. Commit criminal activity in our jail, you will see the same fate.
Meaning you'll end up behind bars yourself. Zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance. But he also framed it as being part of a bigger goal.
Each was.
He mentioned taking care and custody of our inmates and making more change. So this wasn't just about punishment.
Right. It's about restoring integrity and safety for everyone, including the inmates who rely on a secure environment.
It's about making the system work as it's supposed to, applying rules fairly, even to staff.
Which is essential for any kind of trust, both internally and from the public.
So that's the institutional side. But what about the human side? The why?
Yeah, that's always the most puzzling part in these cases, isn't it? What was the motivation?
Well, the report specifically says it's not clear how Martin and Williams developed a relationship where she was tempted to do this.
Tempted. Interesting word choice. It implies some kind of manipulation or connection there.
Right. But the lack of clarity is key. We don't know the specifics of their dynamic.
But we can talk generally about why staff might get involved in something like this. It happens, unfortunately.
What are some of the common factors?
Well, sometimes it's manipulation by the inmate. They can be very skilled at identifying vulnerabilities.
What? Loneliness? Empathy?
Yeah, loneliness, empathy, maybe feeling unappreciated at work. An inmate might feign a connection, admiration, make the staff member feel special or needed.
Exploiting kindness, basically.
Or it could be financial. Staff might have debts, family problems. Low pay can make the offer of money for smuggling seem tempting.
Quick cash for looking the other way or bringing something in.
Exactly. And sometimes, sadly, it's coercion. Threats against the staff member or their family, especially if the inmate has outside connections.
That's terrifying.
It is. And then there's just a slippery slope. It rarely starts with smuggling a phone charger.
Right. It starts smaller.
Often, yeah. A small favor, passing a note, bringing in an extra snack. Minor rule bending that erodes boundaries.
Until the bigger requests don't seem so outrageous anymore.
Precisely. You get comfortable breaking small rules, and then the jump to a bigger one feels easier until you're caught.
Like Williams was. Playing those small games, then suddenly the stakes are immense.
And the consequences for her were, well, immediate and severe.
Let's talk about those consequences. First, the job.
Gone. Immediately terminated from the Clayton County Sheriff's Office.
Just like that. 5 years on the job, reportedly, and her career in corrections or law enforcement is over.
Absolutely over. A termination for something like this. You don't come back from that in this field.
That stable job vanished. But that wasn't even the biggest consequence, was it?
No. The most striking part, the real irony here.
She's now an inmate herself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Incarcerated at the jail where she used to work.
Can you even imagine that? Walking back into that facility, not as staff, but as an inmate.
Going from wearing the uniform to wearing the jumpsuit, from holding the keys to being locked behind the doors, it's a total devastating role reversal.
The system she was supposed to uphold, the system she betrayed, has now consumed her.
She's living the reality she used to manage, possibly even alongside the very inmate she tried to help.
It's the ultimate play stupid games, win stupid prizes outcome.
And there was another layer too, right? Something about her personal life.
Yeah, the reports mentioned she was apparently in the middle of a custody battle.
Oh, wow. That adds another tragic dimension.
Doesn't it? She didn't just throw away her job and her freedom. She essentially torpedoed her custody case.
Absolutely. How is a judge going to view a parent who's just been incarcerated for a felony committed at their job in a jail?
Yeah, you have to think that pretty much seals the deal in court. She likely handed the other parent the win.
It's just heartbreaking. Real life has real serious consequences, especially when kids are involved. Her choices didn't just affect her.
They affected her children's future profoundly. It's a really stark reminder of the cost.
And thinking broader again, what does an incident like this do overall?
To public trust. For one thing, it has to damage it.
Definitely. People hear stories like this and they start wondering about the integrity of the whole system. Creates cynicism.
And for the jail management. Major Johnson, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah, how do you maintain morale among the rest of the staff, the ones doing the right thing? How do you reinforce protocols and make sure everyone adheres?
And vetting, right. How do you try and prevent this from happening again?
Constant vigilance, training, reinforcing ethical boundaries. It's an ongoing battle.
And the immediate safety impact. We talked about the phone.
Right. If contraband like that gets in, the whole place becomes more dangerous. For inmates, for staff, it fuels violence, crime, unrest.
So one person's bad choice has these huge ripple effects.
Absolutely. Doubt, risk, instability spread through the system. Every action echoes.
So, to wrap this up, we had a jail employee, a security specialist,
Porsche Williams.
arrested during roll call for conspiring with an inmate, Roriques Martin.
Caught smuggling a phone charger hidden in a cereal box.
The evidence. Jail phone audio recordings of the plan, security camera footage of the act,
Pretty clear cut.
and a subsequent shakedown found an iPhone in the inmate's block, highlighting the danger.
Then you have the new jail administrator, Major Johnson, who had already warned staff this wouldn't be tolerated.
He made an example of her, emphasizing zero tolerance for criminal activity by staff
And the consequences for Williams were immediate and severe termination from her job.
and incarceration in the very jail where she worked, plus the devastating impact on her custody battle.
It's a stark, stark story.
It really is. The story of LaPorche Williams, it's just this potent reminder, isn't it? That line between doing right and doing wrong, between freedom and being locked up, it can be incredibly thin.
Yeah, and the choices you make, they have real weight. This case really makes you think, what kind of pressure or maybe what lack of conviction leads someone to cross that line?
Especially when the potential consequences are so catastrophic. Losing everything.
And maybe a final thought, particularly given the details we discussed. It's about knowing what loyalty really means. Is it risking your entire life, your freedom, your children's stability for someone else, especially someone involved in criminal activity?
Or is loyalty about upholding your responsibilities, protecting your future, making choices that don't lead to self-destruction?
It's something to think about. Every choice has a price, and you have to decide if it's one you or those who depend on you can afford to pay.
Thanks for tuning into Buzzing Media Trending Talks. If you're into real talk and raw consequences, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, make better choices.